Hello subscribers and non-subscribers, and welcome back to Let's Play Victoria 2. So this series is relatively rapidly approaching the end of its run. The game ends right at the start of 1936. It is currently April of 1898. So we've got about another 37, 38 years. That's within that sort of time frame. Go ahead and get my timer started, and we're gonna go ahead and continue building up another army, or two rather, actually, because I think we've queued up enough for two armies. Our truces should be expiring in the near-ish future. Yes, October of next year is when our truce with Russia is over. If Russia is smart, though, they'll wait the extra months to be able to invite France to join. My truce with France ends April of 1900. However, the AI does not do that, so that's not going to be an issue. Because, like I said, the AI it doesn't do that for whatever reason. It's incapable of saying, you know what, maybe I should wait for my ally, who, you know, will make this a fair fight to be able to join me. And then they proceed not to do that. Now, what should end up happening... why do you not want to be my ally? Ah, you're in Britain's sphere, okay. What should end up happening when Russia inevitably declares war on me at the end of our truce is the UK will join them. Actually, you're not even allied with France anymore. Ooh, never mind then. That's interesting to say the least. But I like that, actually, that you're not allied with France. That makes life a hell of a lot easier. But as I was saying, when Russia declares war on us, they will bring in Britain, and I should bring in another great power. Either the US or two Sicily. Well, yeah, the US will probably join just as a result of it being a defensive war, and the AI almost always joins defensive wars. Two Sicilies, if they're still a great power, they should definitely join as well. Either way, the end result is that this should become a great war. Which is good for us, actually. Because that makes taking land cheaper, and there's a little bit of land off of Russia that I would love to take. Specifically, I'm not even going to try and pronounce, what is that? Kopliski? Whatever the hell. This area of Russia that's sort of jutting into us, I'd like to take that off of them. We're not going to be able to take Krakow unless I declare war on them separately, which I don't really have a reason to do that. So there'll always sort of be this little teal or cyan, whatever color it is, blob in the middle. We'll just consider that a lake, like we have a Lake Balaton over here. And we'll just have a much larger lake here, is how we'll consider that. Decreased militancy of the aristocrats or the capitalists. Well, which one is a larger portion of our population? I mean, neither should be particularly large. Actually, the aristocrats are quite sizable at 1.3% of our entire population. Wow. Capitalists are a measly 0.04%. They are tiny. Okay, well, let's decrease the militancy of the aristocrats then, because that should decrease our militancy more. It didn't really do anything for our average militancy, so I guess never mind. Let's queue up another 3 cruisers. Bulgaria is actually doing a pretty decent job of building up its military. I've had Bulgaria gain their independence in the past. That time it was actually because I declared war on the Ottomans in a separate save based off one of the saves I've made at the end of each part of this Let's Play. And Bulgaria didn't really bother building up its military at all, but this time they seem to actually be doing it. So that's good for us, because it means they're not going to be dead weight. Also, it looks like I might need to up taxes just a little. And by just a little, I mean, what is that, 5%? No, 10% I believe it is each time I shift-click that. Okay, well there's like all of our infantry, but that's not necessarily all I'm looking for, game. Increase, yeah, sure, consciousness I can live with. And I say that and then proceed to get Jacobins. Oh, nope, there. And then you head back, actually. You take care of that guy. You also actually help him out, because that's quite a few rebels. I mean, our guys should be able to handle that on their own, just one army, but like I said, that's quite a few people. Also, I feel like that 3K army may have been one of the armies I was recruiting, potentially. I don't know for certain, though. I guess we'll find that out later. If I seem to be missing something. Now, Russia's done a pretty good job of pulling ahead of me in terms of military score. But they actually have less troops than us. The reason they are pulling ahead is because they probably have more capital ships. Is that it? Because we're getting 1.7 from capital ships. They're getting 9. We have the same leaders. They're getting 604 from army to my 568, and yet I have more brigades. And I believe mine are better as well. Yes, I have more military tactics. I don't understand the logic behind that. Oh, maybe they're building guards. I don't know if guards give you more soldiers and army military points. Maybe they do, and maybe that's what Russia's building a ton of, and I'm typically just now building generic infantry because it's easier. And there's not a significant difference in terms of actual effectiveness as I would have liked there to have been. Ooh, yeah, I don't think Two Sicilies is going to be a great power by the time this war kicks off. Because Italy has about 10 points to go. Well, 11 now, but, you know, close enough. Also, what was that tech about dreadnoughts? Because we can't build them yet. I swear, though, it said something about extra hull points for dreadnoughts. Literally no reason to never attend or to actually host the Olympic Games, actually, in this case. This is the second Olympic Games. Didn't we have the Olympics before, or was that just us attending? It might have just been us attending. Either way, we're holding the second Olympic Games somewhere in Germany. We'll say Berlin. Or no, we'll say it's happening in Vienna. Sure, why not? And yeah, again, no reason not to host if you get the opportunity in this game. There's literally no downsides. Everything is just a bunch of upsides. So, yeah, we're always gonna host that when we get the option, and we'll always attend that when we get the option. Yeah, let's get the mining output. Actually, decrease the factory cost. And also, you know what, I think I can leave that to our capitalists. They did a pretty decent job before. And they've got quite a sum of money stockpiled, so they should be able to afford this all without me really doing anything. And there goes all of our railroads. Every single last one built. Now to upgrade our friend Netherlands territory, because they're going to need it. I could upgrade Belgium's, but nah. We're not really buddies with Belgium, so I'm not going to help them. Persia, however, I will spend. You are within my sphere. I have literally no reason not to help you, and it does benefit me if you're able to produce more resources, because they get added to my marketplace, or my internal marketplace rather, and so that does help me out. I would love to get Spain on my side, but that's not going to happen. Not while they're in Britain's sphere of influence. You're not too far behind Switzerland, so you should be able to overtake them, but you're going to have a bit of a harder time overtaking Italy once they overtake two Sicilies. Actually, you're going to have a bit of a hard time overtaking either of them, really. It doesn't matter which one's the great power. Spain is going to struggle to overtake them. I would love to get Scandinavia on my side, but that's not going to happen because I own parts of Denmark, and that pisses them off. I mean, I can understand that, but still. So we have Bulgaria and Greece, two powers that pretty much destroy the Ottomans' ability to really do much. Oh, okay, now we get a bunch of Hungarian nationalists, because of course we do. I think it's been a while since we've had Hungarians rebel. See which ones I missed. Okay, the 45 212s and the 33. I don't know. Oh, that's this someone over here, right? Yeah. I don't care about Kokand, so I'll take the prestige it to not gain infamy for a territory that I literally could not care less about. Oh, Japan. Oh yes, I am allied with Japan. I wasn't 100% certain on that, but I kind of figured I might have been. Okay, so this is a little bit weird. Oh, no, so you probably declared the war on China, and whoever owned this, was within their sphere? I'm actually not 100% certain how this works, because this is supposed to be acquisition of Japanese Dainam, which would be Vietnam. But Japan's the aggressor in this war. Because they're on the left side here, and the left side here is always the aggressor in the war. So that makes literally no sense that Japan is attempting to acquire territory that is already theirs. And China is somehow involved. The game can get weird sometimes, particularly in the late game. And also, they've been in that war for way too long. The game doesn't tell me when it started, but I'm pretty sure Japan should have already won that by now. I mean, it is it's a partially westernized China. They've failed to unify, and you, Japan, are the 5th largest great power with the 6th largest military, which sure only puts you just barely ahead of China, but that's still a partially westernized China. You should be able to beat them with relative ease. Why are you having such a hard time? I guess it's just sheer numbers. Japan probably... Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's sheer numbers. That's why Japan's having a hard time, because they're keeping so many troops and armies just sitting on the home island doing nothing because they can't be bothered to ship them over. It also looks like their navy's kind of all over the place with a bunch of smaller navies scattered about, which probably makes it hard to transport any large sum of troops across. Yeah, Japan's just kind of screwed this up. They failed to take Korea before westernizing so that they don't need to deal as much with, well, so that this would be considered a state rather than a colonial territory. They failed to then proceed to take Manchuria. Yeah, Japan sucks at this game. They really do. AI Japan cannot do anything right. I need you to siege this back. And now we got some Danish nationals. Oh, not too many, because apparently the Danes have decided they do prefer being within our empire than outside of it. Can't say I fault them for that decision. We need 2 more artillery, and then we're done. For 1 army. Also, it was October, correct? Yes. Oh, did you manage to rebuild your alliance with France? You did. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and send all my troops from the Western Front over to the Eastern Front. Some of you might say, but that's a terrible idea, and admittedly it really would be if I had to worry about fighting on the Western Front for any extended period. Well, at the onset of the war, I won't have to fight on the Western Front on the onset of the war, because France will be declaring their own separate war against me at a later date. And by that point, I should have been able to pretty much wreck Russia, or at least do quite a bit of damage at the very least. One more artillery. And then I can have 2 armies down here again. Help feed the poor. That did nothing for our average militancy, apparently. So somebody's dragging that number up. Okay, so it is 2 of you, all of the artillery, and then 8 infantry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Wonderful. Send you to Milan, send you to Brescia. I think 2 Italy's total score went down a little, because I could have sworn they were like right on the heels of 2 Sicilies last time we looked, but now it seems to have gone down just a little, which is always a good thing. Because the longer 2 Sicilies stays a great power, the more useful 2 Sicilies is as an ally. Wonderful. Factories are cheaper. It is now November and the Russians haven't declared war yet. They should be declaring it in December. Because it seems the AI always declares the war roughly 2 months after the truce expires. At least that's what we've observed recently. They might end up dragging it out till January at the absolute latest. Because I don't think the AI is going to suddenly have gotten smart and realized, hey, maybe we should wait to declare the war until our ally France can join us. Although they really do seem to be dragging it out. which is very surprising to say the least. And is also kind of annoying because I would have liked to have at least had a couple of months of free reign against the Russians. Or they're not declaring the war. That is always a possibility. And they're just outright refusing to declare the war. Which is also bad news because it means France will probably declare the war and then they'll drag the Russians in. And most of my troops are sitting on the Russian front because I was expecting Russia to declare a war against me first. And evidently that may not be the case. Also doesn't help that I suddenly just got a massive communist uprising. I'm going to have the 2 Italian armies deal with that because I can't really pull troops off of the Eastern Front to deal with that. You can actually take care of that guy who's right next to you, though. And toss in Jacobins because, you know, you can never have enough rebellions. Because France has a reason to definitely declare war on us because they actually have a CB to retake Alsace. Russia doesn't really have a CB for us anymore, which might be why they haven't declared the war. Because they don't really have a justification to declare war beyond just a, you know, we want to declare war on you. And unlike EU, that's not a valid reason. European Universalis will let you say, well, we just want a war, so we're going to go to war with you. But Vicky doesn't let you do that. Vicky says you have to have a reason. I'm not doing anything in West Prussian, or whatever. I assume, though, this is probably either Polish or Polish-Lithuanian independence, which I don't care to deal with, although I could. Oh, Japan finally finished their war. Wonderful. And the Second Olympics have finally opened, which means we gain some plurality for whatever that's worth, and we gain a bit of prestige. You know, that is actually a fairly decent gap between me, the number 2 military power, and France, the number 3 military power. There's like a 200-point difference. Also, game, we kind of need to deal with this rebellion a little bit faster, if you don't mind. Outfit an expedition. Because our truce has now expired with France, they should be declaring war on us within the next couple of minutes. And we haven't yet dealt with this rebellion in its entirety. There are some Yugoslavian pan-nationalists, which I would love to see happen because that would hurt the Ottomans even more. Ooh, maybe I'll force the liberation of Yugoslavia. That, dude, yes, I like the sound of that, actually. It's also possible the French just won't declare war on us, just like the Russians surprisingly didn't. I mean, I kind of doubt that'll be the case, but it is a possibility. Yeah, I think those Yugoslavian pan-nationalists are going to win. In Serbia. Also, should actually be noted, or is it an issue? Yes, Yugoslavia gaining their independence is also kind of an issue for us, though, because they'll be able to keep bugging the crap out of us with, not necessarily endless, but regular crises, potentially, because we do own some territories that have Yugoslavian cores. And when you are, I don't know, well, I assume great powers probably have access to it as well, but at the very least, they have access to the increased tension national focus, which they can drop into provinces that they do not own, but that they do have a core on. Which is also the reason why I'm not allowed to do this to Krakow, because I don't have a core on Krakow, which I think is a little annoying personally. Kind of wish I did. Once you form across Deutschland, that you would get a core on Krakow. If only just, you know, for nicer looking borders. Yeah, okay, we're raising taxes on the rich again. Another 10%. Okay, it is July of 1900, and the French still haven't declared war. I'm really not liking that. It's not that necessarily that I want a war, it's just, you know, I kind of hate when I'm preparing for a war and I'm ready for it. I expect it to happen, and then nothing. And so the minute I pull my troops off of the Eastern Front, I expect Russia will declare war on us. And if Russia declares the war, they'll drag both the British and the French in. Which I don't mind if they call the British in. The British typically don't do anything when it comes to continental European wars, for the most part in my experience. But I'd rather not have to deal with their navy at the same time. Especially because, you know, I don't really have a navy of my own. We're ever so slowly working on that. And I mean an actual navy, not the little ragtag bunch of crap that we have down here in the Mediterranean. But for us to build a legit navy, it's going to take a little while because we don't have... Oh, we're up to 4 naval bases that can build cruisers now. Wonderful. That's still basically nothing. Reorganize our national focuses on soldiers, just a little. So we're 100 points behind the Russians. And I still think that's BS. But I can only assume, like I said, it's because they have guards that they're building rather than generic infantry. And that's probably why they're getting more points. But I don't have a way of confirming that. Greece has some communists. And I can't really do anything for Greece. I mean, I could send troops down there to deal with it. Also, Oh, you get the hell out of my territory. You know, I was content letting Yugoslavian pan-nationalists rebel. I had no problem doing that. I figured, you know what? It's going to be a thorn in the side of the Ottomans. It'll be a thorn in my side as well, but more so the Ottomans. It'll weaken them further. I can deal with the periodic crisis war that'll inevitably result out of it. And then they decide to send the largest of their 2 rebel forces into my territory. If they had just stayed in Serbia or marched into the Ottoman territories, I'd have been content. I'd have let them live. I had no problem letting them live. But they decided to be an issue, so now they have to be put down. Which is very annoying. Because, like I said, I think Yugoslavian independence would have actually been beneficial to us. In some ways. Also, don't know what the hell just happened to Serbia. They apparently switched parties. Also, I can now try and get them in my sphere, which I'm not going to bother. And Persia's finally gone to war with Abu Dhabi. It only took them much longer than it should have. Also, let's upgrade Bulgaria's railroads now, since they have finished most of them. I think they still had 1 territory that they hadn't yet finished upgrading, but I don't mind touching that one again later, or letting them deal with it themselves, potentially. You know, assuming they manage to do that. Okay, and Two Sicilies is not going to lose their great power status after some time. Yeah, because those pan-nationalists did nothing. Oh, what's this? Ah, voting. Okay. What do the people want? The people want landed voting by quite a bit. Well, there's our timer. So this is my personal experience. Okay, based off of having played a number of these saves that I've made at the end of each part. When I've ever gotten to the point of passing a political reform, and particularly whenever it is something that allows voting rather than the absolute monarchy of what we currently have, the issue tends to be that my guys kind of get stuck in a loop of every election the Liberal Party wins. And when it comes to their policies in this game, they don't work for me in the slightest. They really don't. In fact, we can go pull this up. So we actually have a number of liberal parties, which is also kind of annoying. We also have a number of conservative parties, which is also annoying in its own right. But so we got the primary liberal party, which is free trade. Don't really care for that. Well, I guess it's fine. Doesn't really matter too much. Actually, I'm not too big on maximum tariffs, but our economy is in a situation where we don't really need to rely on tariffs to make money, so that's fine. Don't care for laissez-faire. I need interventionism. Pluralism, I don't really care about the religious policy. It means nothing as far as I can tell. At least it doesn't have any real effect. Limited citizenship, again, I don't really care too much for, although I guess the assimilation rate is potentially more useful than residency. Although we shouldn't really be needing to assimilate very many people for the most part. We don't have a large colonial empire or anything like that, so it's not a big deal. But I can't stand the anti-military. At the very least, be pro-military, like the anarcho-liberals down here. But, you know, I definitely won't complain about jingoism. These parties down here, the National Liberal Party and whatever that one's supposed to be, again, I can kind of stand a little bit more because the pro-military and jingoism, but the rest of their policies are still crap. I also don't care for this conservative party down here, and then this other conservative party is okay for the most part. I can live with them if they were to win, but I'd still prefer the main one overall. But at the end of the day, all the liberal parties that we have as options are complete crap for what I would like. So we can't have them win. And I don't really want to give voting if it's just going to result in me needing to constantly change the party, which I believe if you change the party after an election, your militancy does go up. I don't think it shoots up, but it does go up somewhat, which is its own set of issues. So what is the second thing that people want the most? Censored press. You know what? I can do that. I can do that. That might actually help us, maybe. I don't know. I think that's also going to piss off the suffrage party. Yeah, that'll piss off the suffrage party. How big is the campaign for suffrage rights, guys? 3 million people. And they're actually surprisingly radical at 52%. Are they our most radical party? They are. Not too, and they're a decent ways ahead, actually, of the Polish liberation movement. Don't really want to deal with that either. And this will increase their radicalism by 15. That's 45. It's 45. So it's either give voting or censored press and piss off the suffrage movement a little bit more, or actually quite a bit more. Assuming that's 15%. Or I guess not percentages, really. It's 15 points, basically. Well, just shy of 15 points. So they'll go up to, what, 67 point... I guess it would be 68, actually, because they're 14.8. Yeah, that'll go up quite a bit. I don't want that. You know what? Fine. I'm not going to like you guys constantly voting, and it's limited to aristocrats and capitalists. Out of curiosity, what's the political affiliation of our aristocrats and capitalists? They're actually surprisingly liberal at 29%. And then 22% conservative, and 21% socialist, aristocrats, and capitalists. Which one is so... So, 25% of the about 12,000 capitalists within the German Empire are socialist. I feel like that doesn't quite make a lot of sense, but so be it, game. I mean, I can kind of see having somewhat socialist tendencies, but I kind of have a hard time believing that a quarter of the capitalists within our empire actually identify as a member of the Socialist Party. Again, I can understand potentially having some policies of that party they agree with, but not necessarily being members of that party. And kind of similar with about almost 7% of our aristocrats are, and it's almost 400,000 aristocrats, are communist. Again, doesn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me, but so be it. We'll deal with this mess. We'll find a way. But that was my timer that went off before I sort of went off on all of that there. So I'm going to end this part here. Oh, too far. So I'm going to end this part here. I will see you all next time. Quick reminder, I do have Patreon, so link that down in the description below if you wish to go and join it. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get early access to all of my videos. Obviously, supporting at a higher tier is appreciated if you wish to do that, though admittedly, at least for this game in particular, there's not much of a benefit to it. For some other games, there are some benefits to being a member of the higher tiers, but it's not a requirement. If you just want the early access to videos, just $1 a month and you'll get early access to all the videos. How early that access is will range a little bit depending on how far ahead I am on my recording schedule, when I next get the chance to record and all of that jazz. But I generally try and shoot for, depending on what day of the week that video goes up, about 24 to, it's a day to 3 days, but I suck at math off the top of my head, so 72 hours, okay. I don't know why for some reason I didn't think it was 72. So yes, I generally try to shoot for 24 to 72 hours. For this series, since it goes up on Tuesdays, you're looking at 48 hours. Generally speaking is what I shoot for. That's not always the case, sadly, sometimes, but that's what I go for. Sometimes you might get a week early access, potentially. But like I said, that'll be it. Link to that down in the description below. I also have some affiliate links down there as well for this game, if you wish to go ahead and pick it up. It is an enjoyable game. It is one of Paradox's older ones, though, so it's a little rough around the edges. The tutorial is not the most useful, admittedly. But beyond that, honestly, I do think Victoria 2 is a very fun Paradox game, and I would love to see them make a Vicky 3. Basically, take this, iron out the issues, and then release it. I don't really want to see too much change beyond that, personally. The only reason the game is sometimes hard to learn is because it is rough around the edges. If they can smooth out those edges, the game is probably not actually as hard to learn as some people think it is. I know I definitely struggled with this game when I was playing it early on, or when I first got it, rather. But yes, so that'll be it. I will see you all next time, but until then, goodbye and farewell.